Hey, what's up, guys? Holy smokes. Oh my God. Each and every day is ridiculous. I am using these headphones, so I can't plug in my microphone. So, unfortunately, the sound isn't going to be amazing, but you'll be able to hear me clearly, I hope. And the reason is I am backing up all my data on two hard drives because they have censored me, they have deleted me, they have shadow banned me. And if you followed this work, it's been 5, 6 years of content on personal development, spirituality, how to live a good life, how to make a positive change. So, what's been different? Well, some people forget. I do the podcast, and people outside this know me. They kind of laugh because, I'm a warrior. I'm a martial artist. I really feel passionately about truth and justice. I really feel passionately about making the planet a better place, and I really feel upset and angry when I see injustice happening. And so I've had to take the pause from doing so many podcasts on personal development because the situation in the world has changed. And my apologies if I've offended you. My apologies if what I share you don't believe. And I respect whatever you believe or think. You still are cool with me as long as you just don't try to force your views on me and make me bend the knee to them. And that's how you know if you're on the side of the oppressor. If what you believe must be mandated and the other person believe them too. And if you think about history, when has that been wrong? When has that really worked out? And that was the positive thing. So if you want to know if you're on the side of the oppressor, it means that you are enforcing your views on someone else and you're taking away their choice. So there you go. I'm going to play these chimes because there's so much stuff I want to get into, and I'm heated. And my apologies. And I'm wearing the hat, and so we're just going to go into some stuff. And in the future, this is going to change. This is the season now. I'm still doing quantum heart hypnosis. I'm still working on personal development. I'm still working on Zen Athlete to bring mindset and empowerment to kids. But at the same time, I'm focused so much on what's going on in the world because I remember in my 20s, I was like, holy crap, I don't know how we're going to beat this system. I don't know how we're going to beat the global elite and Rockefellers when they control everything and all the media. But I do feel positive. I have a hunch that the good guys are winning, but we are in a battle and it's happening. So I'm going to just bring you that. If you're not interested in this, you can go elsewhere. That's totally cool. But for those of you guys want to know my 2 cents, it's just my 2 cents. You should definitely, definitely, definitely fact check me. I might get, I might mess it up. I might misspeak. I might just be totally wrong. Totally cool with that. So if you apply the formula for truth, which is basically you have your perspective, um, everybody else has their one view, and you seek understanding and a two-way dialogue with respect, you get closer to the truth. But the truth evolves over time. And if you know anything about history, you know that old quote, history is written by the winners. That's what's going on here. So even if I read a history book, it was probably manipulated in some sort of way. So what we're trying to do is get closer to the truth. And what are we trying to do? Well, for me, I feel like when we're in the age of deception, and I've studied psychological operations, studied the world elite, butt heads for a long time, doing evil stuff as far as systems go. Mainstream media, I've known about. Also, it goes deeper into Hollywood and music because you can use that through brainwash, and that's a whole bag of worms in itself. But it's pretty self-evident to anybody who looks into it, and many other things. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to go into, and one of the main topics I want to say is that what's happening is a stifling of open discussion. We are having censorship like we have never seen before, in wild and insane amounts. And not everybody knows what's going on, but this is why there's a mass exodus from Twitter. This is why there's a mass exodus from YouTube, because of this bull crap going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to just tell you some of the stuff that I think is what's been going on. So Google Chrome. Okay, so let me just tee it up here and share. All right, so hopefully we're sharing. Yep, share my screen here. Okay, so here's the first thing, the Great Reset, right? So this has kind of exploded because some people are figuring out what the Great Reset is. And now what has been totally obvious for years, but some people are trying to come to grips with, is that the big tech media is all for globalism. If you look at what's been happening, and it's not about left versus right, it's about truth and not the truth. It's not about Trump versus Biden. Biden could say something true. Biden could say something false. Trump could say something true. Trump could say something false. So each thing you take it is its own thing. And when you look back and you look at agendas and track records and things like that, you can make another assessment. But we're going to give you a big overview and do your own thinking. So I'm just going to express some stuff. So big tech has been censoring what I call the Republican agenda. And that agenda is more about freedom. It's anti-lockdown. It's big tech and big censorship. And only big tech has essentially censored one side of that equation. And free speech is paramount. Where do you not have free speech? You have it in China, you have it in totalitarianism, and you have it in communism. So we need free speech, even if we don't believe it. If you're like, what is that quote? I don't know. It's like, I disagree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. I think that's from Monty Python, or it could be something serious, but it's very, very true. If we want a free and democratic society, we need people to say some crazy stuff and just let them say it. Like when I went to the Parliament of World Religions, there's 200 different religions, they believe different things. You could say imaginary people, or whatever the case is, right? And I don't mean to be offensive there, but I just mean like, we don't know. We don't know if Jesus came down and did this. We don't know, but some people believe it vehemently. We don't know if it's like all the Indian gods. We don't know if it was Buddha. We don't know if it was all of them because we weren't there. We only know what we see and experience through our lens. And then we're giving our belief to someone else. And so, all right, so let's just look at this and what the left does all the time. Anything you post, and say with me, I've been nervous to post about a lot of things. Okay, so grifters like Ezra Levant and Tucker Carlson thrive on a society fragmented by increasing wealth and inequality. Of course, they want to stop the Great Reset. They can't make their millions of citizens are educated, have opportunity, and see through these leeches. This is a logical fallacy, ad hominem, which is attacking. People have been attacking me. you know, I have a really good friend. This guy is I would consider him a brother. I think it was one of my podcasts, and I think a lot of people left the podcast because I said, hey, like, I didn't hate Trump, and the reason why is because I worked on human trafficking, and the group that I'm in with the International Tribunal of Natural Justice and a lot of other people were following what he does as far as human trafficking goes, and pedophilia and all this really dark stuff that I don't talk about a lot, but I'm aware of. And so he actually did a lot of good things there. And so, I don't agree with everything he says. I think that he, is needs improvement in more ways than one. But when I've researched globalism and that agenda, and I look at Hillary Clinton and I look at the evidence there, I'm like, whoa! And I didn't even know about this until, again, like, partially through the International Tribunal of Justice, but a lot in the last few months, kind of figuring out what the coronavirus is, doing and going on, and trying to get to the bottom of it because I just want to know what the truth is. So anyway, so, oh yeah. So what my friend told me, he goes, I think you're starting to be anti-LGBT, and it basically called me a racist. That's how bad the indoctrination was from him. Because if you don't hate one thing, if you don't hate the Republican agenda, you are now a racist. And I was like, dude, show me the evidence. Show me one clip of my podcast where I said a racist thing. So that's how far this propaganda can go. He just, because I wasn't fully on the left side, then I was now a racist. And the challenge is, either I bend my knee to something that I don't believe, like I believe in equality for sure. I believe in respect for all people for sure. I want to build Atlantis. So why am I dealing with this crap? But we need true cooperation. And so if I have to bend the knee to your beliefs and submit to you in order to get there, then I'm making a choice. I'm making the choice of submission. And if I stand in my truth and say, hey, you know what? Based on this evidence, this is why I believe this. Can you look at this and respectfully give me your feedback and your wisdom? But guess what? It's a forced division. So we need to figure out a new way to get past that division. So look here, this is what happens. Stop the Great Reset is trending and white fragility continues. If COVID has taught us anything, it is that our system favors the privileged and wealthy at the expense of the planet and marginalized communities. Look at this guy going at it. What have you done to bring awareness to the 9.1 million people who starve to death each year? What have you done to bring awareness to the travesties going on in China? What do you do for your life's work? And I don't know who this is. Maybe he does amazing stuff, and maybe he's made massive contributions to all of those things. But basically, what he's doing is he's doing a logic fallacy, so people don't look into Great Reset. So let's keep going down. We do. Cult trends are so out of touch with Canada stability. Sometimes I think it's even bot agencies throwing crap everywhere to see what sticks. But it could also be because believers are on a wavelength that's largely separate from Canada. I'm not sure what that one means. I don't know if he's on our side or whatever. Uh, there we go. There's one. Stop the Great Reset is trending because mental health is not properly treated in our society. See, this guy is shaming. This guy's telling me that I help with mental health, and maybe maybe I am a conspiracy theorist lunatic, but there's a lot of evidence for it. So I don't know. Like maybe I'll get you. Maybe we'll look at the facts together and see what you think. So this is what the left does. They do what's called, and I didn't even know what a logical fallacy was until all this started happening, and my own friends kind of turned on me and were total butts. And so here we go. Logical fallacies are common errors in reasoning that will undermine the logic of your argument. Fallacies can be either illegitimate arguments or irrelevant points and are often identified because they lack evidence that support their claim. So basically, if you believe in the Great Reset and you've done research like I have and spent hundreds of hours and I'm going through enormous amounts of information to present it, this guy can just say I have mental health issues and put me in a box. Now, the martial arts warrior side of me wants this person to be in front of me, so I can do the thing where I get to use my dukes and and do that. Now all the training says Matt, don't do that. You know what I mean? We gotta find peaceful resolutions to all of these issues. But when someone is acting in these ways, and this is oppression and this is dark magic. What they do is they want to hide through ignorance and logical fallacy and shaming and guilt and anything you see on Twitter, and that's why people are leaving Twitter because they're shaming and guilting, and it's way too frightening to post anything. I just want a mutual respect dialogue. You could say, "Hey, man, the Great Reset is bullshit because of this." Show me the evidence. Sure, I'll change my mind. I was just reading the Dhammapada today, and it basically said, uh, some, something along the lines that, a fool who at least recognizes he is a fool is taking a great step. And Socrates said, I know nothing. And that's kind of how I feel because if you go into quantum physics and all these different things, we really don't know anything. Particles and matter disappear and reappear at will. That's nuts. That's just insane if you actually think about that. And so how do we get to bigger states of harmony and coherence, especially when with all this going on? And I also think if I'm giving this stuff my attention, how am I building the solutions? I'm not sure right now. What I think is that we really need to know the truth. So I'm kind of going in there, hopefully presenting one perspective that can heal the divide, but also know the truth. So then all that negativity, that darkness of what they need to create the Great Reset and all that kind of nonsense, globalism and stuff that I've looked at for a long time and know definitely exists and know definitely the plan because it's public, is not good. And all we need is awareness. So now let's go to the other side of people who don't use logical fallacies. Okay. So look at this guy, computing forever. This guy is amazing. Why we will win and they lose. Okay. Let's just click this video real quick. This is a 31-minute video full of what you would refer to as evidence. It talks about all kinds of things, the global reset. It talks about this guy, Klaus Schwab. It talks about COVID-19, lots of evidence, right? So, and I'm not going to go into all this because it'd take forever. I do, like I said, tons of research. So I'm going to try to give a synopsis. 23,000 like it, 254 don't, right? 6,000 comments. Conspiracy theorists just means paying attention. Fake virus, fake diagnostic, fake statistics, build back better, how sinister, they always read, blah, blah, blah. So these are all people, they're agreeing with each other, but they're not shaming and guilting each other. You know what I mean? And you would actually have someone present better evidence. That's why there's so many likes versus dislikes, because it's a very logical argument, right? Here's this one by Trudeau. Hold on. I'll just fast forward to that because Trudeau sucks. And I'm not sure where Canada is going to be in all of this. Hopefully we'll be all right. But it all has to do with the states. Am I going to be able to find it? I just saw him. I don't want to be dealing with this the whole time. Where are you, Trudeau? So yeah, Trudeau is the worst. All right, here we go. Here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to stop it there. But this is very well put together, logical. You can follow it, you can go fact check it, and all this kind of stuff. So this guy has got 500,000 subscribers. That's great. Then you can go to someone like Corbett Report. Amazing reporting. He does very in-depth analysis. He makes a very logical argument, very well researched. You can go find all that kind of stuff. And so, being a Canadian, all right. So let's just go to here. So if you go here, you're going to notice 10,000 likes, 251 dislikes, right? Amazing Polly, also another fantastic researcher. She got deleted from YouTube for her troubles. She does something on the global healthcare mafia. She shows you the money trail. She does fantastic research. Tons of likes versus dislikes. So now let's go into what's going on with the mainstream news, right? And how they work and show you the difference between them. So it's interesting to know that all the mainstream news is calling Biden the winner. Why is all the news around the world calling him the winner? And how did people predict that that was going to happen? And it's the mainstream news. It's only only the mainstream news, because the truth is he is not the winner. Even projected winner is still not the winner. And how do I know this? Well, I had to go and who did it for me? JP Sears basically explains it, how a civil war can start, and he explained to me how all of this works. And this video right here, which I highly recommend, by how a civil war could start, is exactly what I think, and he explains it in total detail what's going on through a comedy video, but actually has more facts and information than the news. So now let's go. This is Canadian news, okay? Ottawa gearing up for COVID-19 vaccine rollout. So we're just going to click that, right? One major problem: 1,000 likes versus 191 dislikes. But look at the number of views versus these other independent stations. They're not getting the views that other people are getting. Now we're talking about tech censorship, and you look at somebody's demeanor. You know what I mean? So the left basically slanders Ted Cruz. However, when I watch this, which I have watched this on I watched some of these proceedings about big tech and all these different things. What's actually happening, what the truth is big tech is only censoring Republicans. They're only censoring freedom. That's just the truth. Whether I like it or don't like it, that's what's actually happening. So even if you are a Democrat and you believe in free speech, you know, it's nice when like your side's winning. It's like, yeah, silence all those people. It feels good. I know what it's like. It's like, yeah, we don't want those guys to talk. But really, you don't believe in free speech then, because what's happening is these are the biggest platforms to distribute news. They're being censored, shadow banned, and deleted, but they're still getting more traction. When he makes his argument, it's a reasonable argument to me. Maybe you don't believe that. You listen to all the other people talking about, talking about things and what's going on, and and they seem a little. The argument isn't as sound, and so let's go back to I've kind of um, queued up some other baloney. What do we got here? Okay, so yeah, Newsmax is exploding because of that, right? But people call it the right wing. Okay, here we go. Here's Sky News. So we'll go back to, and this is in Australia, right? Just like in Canada, we've got the fake news, and here in Australia, 3.2 thousand downvotes versus 2.3 upvotes. So still, the mainstream is watching this, right? But they know that this is baloney because the truth is it's not been done yet, right? But some mainstream actually is reporting the news, oddly enough, which is nuts. That what's happening is these independent sources of news on YouTube, like my friend Joe Martino from Collective Evolution, 5.4 million subscribers, fans, deleted for sharing this stuff. If you share anything about the coronavirus, you're deleted. And that's because you can figure out what the truth is. Green Med Info, millions of fans, deleted a track record of helping people with health. Sayer G, Kelly Brogan, all these people. Dr. Christiane Northrup was literally voted one of the most trustworthy people in North America by um, what is it? By what the heck? Reader's Digest, and she's speaking out, but people are calling her a quack. And so, yeah, I recognize that. Like, I'm looking at multiple sources, but I do check the other side. I check to see what's going on here. I look at the uh, local news. Okay, so we got BBC here. Biden, Trump lack of cooperation embarrassing for country. BBC News. We're looking at 110,000 views, 2.4 thousand dislikes, 1.5 thousand upvotes. So what's going on there? Why is it getting less traction and more downvotes? Where do you got to go to find the truth? Well, people are moving and shifting and juking and diving to try to find the truth. A lot of people have gone to Telegram and all these other places, including myself, because we can't go into an open dialogue debate on Facebook and on Twitter where where we could have a respectful debate, where the Constitution in the states, they say it was like robust debates that helped shape a policy, and all you get over here is conspiracy nonsense, guilting, shaming, and using logical fallacy. That's not providing a better argument. And then you go back over here to let's see what else we got. I teed up a Steven Crowder, comedian, right? People call him all kinds of things, but he does those videos, Change My Mind, and I only recently saw him. And you can see visually what's going on in the other people's mind when he says just change my mind. Like, you're welcome to change my mind, and they don't have the full story. And so the people shaming and guilting and all that stuff, they're not providing a good argument. They're basically using logical fallacy to guilt you into believing what they want. Here you go, valuetainment. He just did a great video which inspired me. He goes, I'm going to disappoint you. I kind of said that too, where I'm going to disappoint you. He's comfortable with who he is. He's trying to figure out what the hell the truth is. He's using his platform and his own curiosity to make a difference. And I applaud him for that. So few people are doing that. And he's got a history in business and helping people out and, you know what I mean? Trying to make a difference, creating fantastic content, but he sniffs some baloney going on. If you don't realize there's baloney going on right now, like, I don't even know what to tell you. There's just so much baloney. So he's gone and he's investigating. He's trying to figure out what the actual flying F-bomb is going on, creating content that is long, 54-minute interviews like mine, 58-minute interviews, looking at both sides of the equation. And just like the weights and scales in law, you listen to both arguments and you see which one bears more weight. So let's give you another example. I looked up so you'll notice all the world news is Trump is going to accept defeat, blah blah blah. Well, what a lot of people have said from the beginning was they're going to position Trump to be a dictator, which they have in the media. And I'm just looking at the headlines. That's what they've been doing. They're saying, why isn't he going to leave office? Well, if he loses legally, then he loses legally. But they're saying what the Republicans are saying, and all the senators that were voted into power to represent the people, the both sides get to do that. They are saying, hey, there's election fraud here, and we'd like to sort that out. And so if they are saying that, then the courts have the right to kind of go through due process to figure out if that's true or not. And when they go to court, they put it on the weights and scales to see if there indeed was fraud or there was not, and they will elect a winner that way. I'm kind of going all over the place here. So BBC News again. So they're saying that it's all bullcrap, but 2.4 thousand dislikes, as you can see there. All right, so I want to show you. I hope that I okay. We'll go to this then. So if you look up Kaylee McEnany, this is the thing that comes up. Okay, this is the first thing that comes up. And that's from the Late Show of Stephen Colbert. So why are all the celebrities, all the people owned by mainstream, making stuff like that? How ridiculous is an argument for that? The evidence that is, if you look at this, they just basically are trying to do all that. But when you look at a reasonable argument being made and you have a debate, you see which one has more energy on the weights and scales, which one makes more sense. And so, this is unbelievable. I've listened to Kaylee, and I can never pronounce her last name, McEnany, whatever. It seems like a reasonable argument that I'm curious about. I've looked at the left's argument that says there's no evidence, but well, there's a lot of signed affidavits. There's a lot going on with Seidel and Venezuela and how that software was made. So I'm super curious about what is going on with that. And so I want to give you a Canadian example because okay, so look at this. So this is Newsmax TV, 16,000, 121 downvotes. They make a more reasonable argument, and yeah, it's right leaning, of course. Both of them lean left or right, but it's just about the truth. Most of the independent people, even like Young Pharaoh, who does. So look at Young Pharaoh. Is he still okay? Cool. 534,000 subscribers, right? He does his videos are like sometimes 3 hours long for frig's sakes, you know what I mean? And so he will just share what is going on. So here we go. So he's talking about Joe Biden as you know, election winner against court decision, 25,000 likes, 1.1 thousand dislikes. And the reason why is he takes the time to present an argument. You know what I mean? And if you present him with better evidence, he'll listen to that evidence. But what does Stephen Colbert do? What does the mainstream media do? They shame and they guilt so that you are too afraid to speak out. So why are there millions of people off of the mainstream going to different places because they want to find the truth, and we should uphold the media for truth. But here's in Canada. Okay, so that's why Post Media Post Media controls mainstream media, conservative and alternative media in Canada. So in this article here, canucklaw.ca, which you can find, when you do research, shows that Post Media owns like 90% of all media in Canada. So that's why you get the specific news you get. In the States, I think it's six, and I think most of them are Democratic run. I don't know exactly all the details in that. I haven't looked too far into it, but that's something that we need to know. And so, where are you going to find your information? How do you know what's going on? And so, look at this is what I'm talking about: is a difference between 2-hour presentation, sharing slides, sharing history, breaking it down, helping you understand. But most people only have time for headlines, and then they're persuaded by headlines, and you go into Twitter, and it's just so infuriating to deal with these people that don't do research and call you a conspiracy theorist and basically say you're a racist if you believe something that they don't believe. And so that's just something that I wanted to bring to light. And then I'm going to just show you Pierre, what's his name? So we do have like a couple legit uh, Canadian politicians, and this guy is one of them. And I think we're gonna have to go beyond politics here, but I think that we want to find the truth. That's really what's important here. We want to find the truth. But he asks questions to this girl's the worst. All right, I'm going to show you the difference between somebody who's trying to find the truth and if you watch the deposition of whatever Twitter Jack Dorsey, they just avoid all the questions. They know what they're doing. Big tech is moving for globalism. that's just my hypothesis, but you have to watch all these videos to put that piece of the puzzle together. So I'm going to show you this little argument between this Freeland girl. She is the worst. She just, oh god, she is crazy. All right, let's just try this one. All right. So isn't politics infuriating? That just infuriates the crap out of me. But you can see the difference in the demeanor. You can tell one is working with an agenda. They don't answer any questions. If you look at the the deposition of what Ted Cruz and all the other Democrats do against or do ask questions for Jack Dorsey. He doesn't answer any of those things. He shifts, and what's going on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. It's only towards globalism. This is the threat. It's globalism, and it is Agenda 2030, and it is in the lockstep. It is in so many different things. The information is out there, but in the good news, Steven Crowder, 5 million people, and you don't even have to believe what he's saying, but he is saying the truth more often, giving a better argument. If you look at who else, if you don't like him, you can go to Stephen Colbert. Does fantastic research. He's got 520,000 subscribers. 10,000 likes because he presents a reasonable argument, like that Pierre fella. Then we got Computing Forever, 500,000 followers, 23,000 likes, 254 down likes, because he is sharing a reasonable, well thought out argument. And what happens over here on Twitter and on YouTube, and people who don't do any research, they're being censored, they're being banned, and they're only using logical fallacy to make their point. And so this is what's going on here, and it's super 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 infuriating. So just to so you can see, here's Sky News mainstream media in Australia, right? So they got 3.2 thousand downvotes, and then I check CNN, and I listen to CNN's argument, seeing that there's no voter fraud and this and that. It's just unbelievable for them to even say that. I had a good friend tell me that, and I was like, I just sent him like 20 videos. I was like, what do you think of all this? I was like, you got there's a lot, right? And so, you know, when you look at both, you can easily see the spin and what has greater evidence and weights and scales, and make up your own mind. That's the whole point. So, we're going to see what's going to happen here. I think a lot more stuff is going to come down the pipe. And my invitation is just, how do we how do we move towards solutions? How do we understand what is actually going on in the world? What can we do to heal the divide? I hate doing politics. I hate looking at this stuff, but I'm going to be looking at more. I invite you guys to go to Telegram because a lot of information is shared there. And in those groups, it's just about the better evidence rises to the top. That's all it is. We have to have the humility to be wrong, to present our evidence, right? You're a kid and you raise your hand in class and you're just terrified of being wrong. Well, now people aren't going to raise their hand because they're literally being stoned to death verbally. And it's not a great experience, but you can see there in those videos, if you do your own research and look up the mainstream news across the world, all of them are calling President-elect Biden. Well, if you look at the actual law and you watch the arguments for people putting well documented arguments together, many independent reporters, the truth is he's not the president elect, that there are many lawsuits out, that there's outstanding tons of evidence that there's voter fraud. And then you look at what Biden and Harris want to do. They basically, their plan is to lock down again, and same plan in Canada, lock down again. And there's one more thing that I wanted to share. Lockdown again, and what's going to happen to people? It's not going to be ideal if there is another lockdown, because obviously it's going to get worse. So let me see Finder. So yeah, I'm backing up all of my stuff on a portable hard drive because I'm getting deleted like crazy. So I want to be able to share Finder. I don't want to share that one. Let me see here. My apologies for this delay. So let me get out of that. I'm gonna open this. Okay, let me share my Telegram. Telegram. Ha! There we go. Hopefully there's nothing. Solutions for Humanity. Okay, follow Canuck Law. Follow Solutions for Humanity on Telegram. They're fantastic. Not on the Beeb. This is my buddy who's doing great research in the BBC. World Doctors Alliance. If you say anything about coronavirus being nonsense and potentially with the number and then the letter, because you can't say those things either, then it's quackery and you're removed. But why are there thousands of people coming out about the testing? You know what I mean? There's tons and tons of evidence. So again, super frustrating to deal with. But all right, let's go. So I'm just posting. Okay, well, hopefully this will play okay. Okay, I don't know if you guys could hear that. Hopefully you can. But this is United Nations run by China now lecturing the USA on human rights violations. I worked on uh, a project to bring awareness to the forced organ harvesting going on in China. China is not ideal in any way. And now all of a sudden, why is Canada super stoked that Biden's getting it? Right? Well, why is China stoked that saying that they think Biden's getting in? And I don't. I think that Trump is going to win in the courts because I've just seen a lot of evidence. Maybe he won't. I'm totally cool with that. My aim is always going to be, how do I make this planet a better place? Politics, they've driven me nuts since I've been a kid because everybody's a friggin' liar. My resistance to the Democrats is because of all of this globalist stuff that I've looked at and how they want to shut down the country and all this kind of stuff. And what the Republicans want to do is they want to open up their country. Maybe I should find that one here. I'm going to show you. I wonder if I can find this, but I'll just kind of show you the difference of what I think. So, what's the name of the South Dakota COVID governor? All right, all right. Okay, let's see here. So let me share the screen one more time. And browser, Brave. Okay, cool. Let's see if I can. Darn. All right, so we're gonna stop the share. And again, my apologies for this crap. I'm just kind of doing it off the wing here because I don't even want to be doing these videos. But you guys can watch them and let me know what you think. Put it in the comments. See if I'm out to lunch. But I'm trying to just. What? Okay, South Dakota. news. Okay, there we go. Let's wonder if this is it.
Let's bring in Governor Kristi Noem right now. You just heard Governor Cuomo right there. Governor Noem, thanks for joining us this morning. COVID is rising in your state as well. Cases are up, hospitalizations are up, deaths are up. Are you prepared to work with President-elect Biden to get it under control?
So first thing that he does there is say, are you prepared to work with President-elect Biden? That's not President of the United States. They're basically saying that he's the elect, and the whole mainstream CNN, ABC, all that news media is doing this so that when Trump gets elected, which is very likely from what I can see, they use that as an excuse to riot, and they're calling him a dictator. But just look at this woman's demeanor of how she knows what he's doing. I know what he's doing because I studied psychological operations. I studied hypnosis, language patterns, things like that. So I know exactly what he's doing, and it's friggin' infuriating when they do it to you, and it makes you want to smack them right in the mouth.
Well, it is a regional increase that we're seeing. We are testing more. And frankly, George, I'm not going to take advice from Governor Cuomo. He has the second worst death rate per 100,000 people in this nation. He's at 173 deaths per 100,000 per capita. South Dakota's at 54. I appreciated that President Trump gave us the flexibility to do the right thing in our state, and will continue to do that. He let me do my job. But the other thing that I think is going on here, George, is that this is all premature. This is a premature conversation because we have not finished counting votes. There are states that have not been called. And back in 2000, Al Gore was given his day in court. We should give President Trump his day in court, let the process unfold. Because, George, we live in a republic. We are a government that gets its power from the consent of the governed. That is the people. They give their consent on Election Day. Election Day needs to be fair, honest, and transparent. And we need to be sure that we had an honest election before we decide who gets to be in the White House the next 4 years.
Governor Noem, do you have any evidence that it wasn't an honest election? You heard about a tweet earlier this week saying it was rigged. Do you have any evidence at all of widespread fraud? I've spoken with Republican secretaries of state in Georgia, in Arizona. I've spoken to Republican officials across the country. They have come up with zero evidence of widespread fraud.
And that is not true. That is absolutely not true. People have signed legal documents, affidavits stating that they saw illegal activities. And that is why we need to have this conversation in court. The New York Times itself said that there were clerical errors. If
no
you look at what happened in Michigan,
fraud, Governor. That's
that we
very
had
different.
computer glitches that changed Republican votes to Democrat votes. You look in Pennsylvania, dead people voted in Pennsylvania. So, George, I don't know how widespread it is. I don't know if it'll change the outcome of the election. But why is everybody so scared just to have a fair election and find out? We gave Al Gore 37 days to run the process before we decided who was going to be president. Why would we not afford the 70.6 million Americans that voted for President Trump the same consideration? If Joe Biden really wants to unify this country, he would wait and make sure that we can prove we had a fair election.
Governor Noem, Al Gore was behind by about 500 votes in one state, Florida. Joe Biden is ahead in all the close states by multiples. And look at how many more moving parts we have today. 10,000 votes in Georgia, 27,000 votes in Nevada, almost 20,000 votes in Arizona, more than 30,000 votes in Pennsylvania. That is not close. That is not within the margin that elections are usually turned around on.
And many, many more states are in play this time around. And that's what I think is interesting, is this declaration from some individuals saying it was an overwhelming victory for Joe Biden. It simply wasn't, because you have so many of these states that are still in play. All I'm asking for, George, is that we don't break this country. When you break the process on which we elect our leaders, you will break America forever. So this isn't just about this election. This is about every election in the future. And the fact that the American people, the everyday people who get up and work hard, that are suffering through this pandemic, that have tragically lost family members, that they need to know at least America still functions and we care about doing things right.
It starts with providing evidence. You still have not provided that, but I'm afraid we're out of time today. Governor Noem, thanks for your time.
Let the process work, and we will.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC.
All right. So, oh, dear. All right. So, yeah, there's it's just infuriating when you can see the difference in the demeanor of what she's going for and how this guy is, Anthony, how Scaramucci, CBC. Let's see this. All right, look at this guy. Legendary victory, Scaramucci. Now, let's just watch this guy.
Polls. This would have been a very dangerous situation.
White House communications director and worked closely with President Trump prior to that, but also for 10 days in the White House in that role. And it's good to see you again, Mr. Scaramucci. Thank you.
It was 11 days.
I'm so sorry.
That extra day.
My apologies.
I mean, it's 9.1% of my federal career. I mean, come on.
I shouldn't be making a mistake like that.
You guys are known for accuracy.
Yeah, no, my apologies.
Listen, that was. I
want to ask you, what do you think?
Well, listen, that was a great moment for America because If America needed a wake-up call about how dangerous Donald Trump is, they got it tonight. He's basically suggesting that the corruption is taking place in a way where the corrupt people are voting artificially for Republican members of Congress, but they're voting artificially against Donald J. Trump for president. It's the biggest bunch of bunk that I've seen ever from him. It's no longer astonishing to me that the people around him are not stopping him, blocking him, intervening.
Why not?
But the American people did. Why not? They're afraid of him. They're afraid of him. That Twitter feed is converting right now as we speak to a presidential Twitter feed, to the angry, bizarre uncle that all of us have in our lives and some of us have in our attic or basement, and we all have to look at Thanksgiving. And so it's going from the presidential Twitter.
See, there you go. So if you question anything, you're the angry, bizarre uncle. So immediately to the logical fallacy, the attack of character, and that guilt and shames people from questioning because they don't know if they're going to be on the receiving end of that attack.
Feed to that shortly. And the GOP, if John Kennedy were alive, he wrote a best-selling book called Profiles in Courage in the 50s. If John Kennedy were here today, he'd be writing about the GOP, Profiles in Cowardice. I mean, these guys are spineless guys, and they're going to do what spineless people do. But that's okay. The American people are not spineless people. We're going to work him out of there. We've got 76 million votes, maybe 77.
So then they call you spineless. And so if you look here, only 113,000 views, 1,300 upvotes, 1.6 downvotes. I commented because I was pissed off. And so if you look through this, people are they know what's going on. So, people are waking up, they know what's going on, and we're seeing the tide. So I just want to share that. I don't know, it's a rant, jeepers, creepers, jeepers. How do we heal this divide? What can we do? What can we do to ensure freedom of integrity? And I think that we need to be open. We need to be transparent. We need to be humble. We need to listen to other people's point of view. And if people are trying to oppress you and enforce you, and this isn't even touching vaccines. Trump's talking about Operation Warp Speed. That's a whole nother bag of worms that I don't agree with at all. Nobody should be taking a vaccine. At least he said that they'll be optional. I don't know what's going on with him there. He could be like the worst globalist, and this is like WWE, and then he rolls out the New World Order. I have no friggin' idea what's going on. I definitely do not want to take the vaccine. There is a microchip patent by Bill Gates to link the to go into a microchip into vaccines. That was thought about by Rockefeller years ago, and that's the plan by the globalists. It's the world reset. That's what it's all about. And in Canada, we're gonna be facing martial law here, most likely. That's my hypothesis. Canada's about to get the lockdown like Australia. We're gonna get an hour out. In the winter, we might see military in the street. The next big thing to look out for will be they're going to try to forcefully remove President Trump from office. Now, if it comes through, and this is what the courts are for, that's some random guy on, doing propaganda for the media. Then you look at the governor, I forget her name or what her name was, but she just had a more compelling demeanor. You know what I mean? She's very reasonable, very compelling, very grounded. To me, that added way more weight. Let the process go. Let's go into the courts and decide, were these counted fairly? Were they not counted fairly? Right? That's all that is. And if the courts prove that Biden won in a landslide, I think that the Republicans will accept that, and you can unify the country. But what if it comes out and it turns out there's a lot of voter fraud? There's a lot going on in many states, a ton of evidence in the Telegram groups. It is evidence, evidence from all over the place. What happens if they find out that Trump won legally and only the mainstream media, CNN, tells all these people that have been already burning down the American cities that Trump has stolen the election and he's a dictator? Then you're going to see some civil unrest in the states, and that's what JP Sears' thing is about. But what does that leave for China or Canada? Because we're down with China. We funded their military. Trudeau's excited that saying, oh, congratulations Biden, even though Epoch Times and all independent media sites around the world have said he has not won. All those great researchers that I shared, Corbett Report, and then many others are like, we got to wait for this process to shake out because there's a lot of evidence here. We're going to see what's going on. Robert David Steele is a very fascinating guy. He says that they have the servers and that they're basically going to be taken down all these people who were corrupt? I hope so. I haven't seen enough evidence. I've only seen just hearsay of that. So that would be fantastic if we see some people start going to jail. And these are people that I've known about from the human trafficking days and the pedophilia, and it's insane. Like if you watch Follow the Cabal or any of those things, you'll see like you can't even believe it. It's mind blowing, and that's the real pandemic: is human trafficking and pedophilia, and the amount of I guess they call it doxing and logical fallacy and big tech censorship and the world reset. It's happening. Like this is what we're in right now. Just not a lot of people have kind of woken up to that. So, again, my apologies for doing videos like this. I'd rather focus on human performance, peak potential, building Atlantis. But how do we do that when there is definitely an adversary trying to frig us up? And I know that, and I definitely have, the warrior side and the martial arts side. And I got to focus on this because it's so paramount right now to find the truth. And I'm doing what I can to do my research and to share what I find that I think is relevant, so we can see with clear eyes. Because fear and darkness and propaganda and manipulation, it evaporates in the light, it evaporates in the truth, it evaporates out in the open. And we need to be courageous, we need to be respectful, and we need to know what the truth is. So if you can, have the courage to speak your mind, to share your evidence. And if you're being reasonable, if you're not attacking someone else, if you're asking them, say, hey, have you seen this? Like, do you have a better argument? Let be open to being wrong and see if they do have a better argument. And what I found from the beginning of this coronavirus thing is all of the people that I know that have given me crap for this have not presented one piece of solid evidence. All they do is say, oh, that's a conspiracy. Oh, you know what I mean? They cognitive dissonance the whole thing. And I'm just like, look at this insane amount of evidence. Like, what are you doing? And so if you have the courage to look at the evidence and be clear-minded, then we can build the solutions together, be aware of corruption, and work together in a real way, not in some sort of totalitarian way. Like the coronavirus is definitely being used to create the crisis they need for lockstep. And this isn't a new thing. This is something that's been worked at since the beginning of time. And I do think that the good guys are winning. I think we're going to see some very interesting things coming up. If you have questions, definitely head over to my Telegram group. Definitely send me an email, matt@zenathlete.com. Get into the membership and academy, because I'm posting all the videos over there. Obviously, we're going to have tons and tons, and most of the information is going to be on personal development, consciousness, exploration, building a life of your dreams, being a good member of society, building Atlantis, most of that. But right now I'm kind of in a little bit of the Duke's Army mode. Notice the hat, because the first thing in war is communication. I've done a lot of study on psychological operations. I've done a lot of study on war. I've done a lot of study on regime takeovers, and I'm only a novice. I only know a little bit. So I'm sharing, what I'm seeing here, because the first thing is clear communications and to know who is oppressing. So if you're like, oh, that person's manipulating and this is how they're doing it, it takes that away. Just like hypnosis. If I say, don't think about the American flag, or do not think about the American flag on fire, I know that your brain does that. And they know this too. They've been working on this stuff for years. They know exactly how that works. And so they use emotions, right? They're taking your good nature and using it against you. Oh, you're not for equality for all? Oh, you're not for these things? No, of course I am. Everybody is, right? But I'm not for equality for all and totalitarianism for you to hide behind a shield. I forget who it was. I think it was they're called the Kaisarians. They would use the Jewish for this. They would say, I think they were, this is like I don't know all the pieces of the details, but apparently this is a tactic that's been used for a long time. But apparently they would say, "Oh, hey, you guys are." They were controlling people through banking and debt and things like that, and people would say, "Hey, you're you know controlling us through, calling out their corruption through the debt and through the money and what international bankers are doing now." People would say, hey, you're anti-Semitic. Like, you hate Jews, like, get out of here. And so they would use that as a shield for this other crime they were committing. And then what that does, and what hypnosis does, it kind of stuns you. Like, oh, you can't get out of it. Like one of the other examples is a double bind. You know what I mean? So, is President-elect Biden going to be president for 4 years or 8 years while it assumes he's going to be president? Would you like to buy this car on cash or finance? It gives you the same option of the same end. You're going to buy the car. And what happens to people is they're not used to that type of language. So they go, oh, and they're like, wait, how do I get out of this? There's no way out. This is crazy. And so all of this is happening to people. I'm able to see it. I'm able to see the language patterns and all this kind of stuff. And it's super friggin' infuriating. And that's why people believe this. And people are basically experiencing amygdala hijack. I'm feeling tired now, so I'm not going to show you the video, but go onto YouTube and look up amygdala hijack. And that's what's going on with the coronavirus. And so, I'm trying to share the truth of the coronavirus, get censored, blocked, all my work. I was really frustrated the other day because for almost 40,000 people on Instagram to just share positivity, help share the news, right? So why are all these people being deleted? Why is big tech just deleting one side? Why are so many people moving over to people who make longer, reasonable arguments, sharing the truth with lots and lots of upvotes and a little downvotes? But then the mainstream is mostly downvotes and pure manipulation. So there is still a section of our population that watches that, but very few and far in between. And so whatever you look, just take it as one piece. You know what I mean? Like, let's see if the person earns your trust. Let's see if they are humble enough to admit their mistakes, or are they just trying to influence you? And there's a quote from, forget who it is, forget his name, but he did propaganda for World War II, and he said, the media is like a keyboard in which the government can play. And that's what the mainstream media is doing. And that's why you need to get on to independent media. Don't try not to worry about the shaming and guilt. Get off Twitter, frig Facebook, find the alternatives. Right now, I went over to Parler. Somebody's like, oh, Parler, and I was like, what's wrong with Parler? Because they looked at, what people are saying, and they have this thing that it's all, right-wing conspiracy nuts, but I've been a conspiracy nut my whole life. I just want to know the truth. And so conspiracy is just a way to shame and guilt and prevent people from taking an action, from standing up. And maybe I'll find evidence that it is true, and then I'll leave. I don't know. What I do know is that Twitter is being used as a political machine. YouTube is being used as a political machine. In China, no YouTube, no Facebook. You can go to jail for that. And you got to look at these agendas because they're using coronavirus for that. Biden talks about the dark winter, and I'll speak directly. I do think that him and Harris are part of the globalist agenda because of what they have said as far as their policy goes. They say they want to shut down, that we have to have masks for a certain amount of time. Biden has also said that he thinks that we should get towards more forced vaccinations. We shouldn't have that option. So those things are just something that I don't agree with. I personally think very, very little government. People have the opportunity to cooperate together. Free energy, sustainability, good food, lower cost of living, less taxes, all that kind of stuff. Less government telling me what to do. And so whatever representative is going to say that, I'll be like, yeah, I prefer that. You know what I mean? But I got to have my power outside of whatever system that is, right? I got to bring the power back to me and my community and who I can help and how I can support and how I can have a connection with God, spirit, nature, the universe, because, I only know a little bit of a little bit. And then maybe, Kamala Harris and Biden get in, and in 2 years, it's like this utopia. And I was like, oh my God, I was so wrong. Those guys were the best. Man, these vaccines are amazing. Like, why did I resist this? Oh my God, this vaccine's got me feeling like a superhuman. But when I look up Klaus Schwab, and I look up the World Health Organization and who runs that, and I look at the old people like ex-CIA agents, William Cooper, talking about what we're experiencing right now, the Rockefellers and how they talk about people, that gives me a lot of weight and evidence to be like, you guys probably aren't doing this for our good. I don't think you are, right? And I always wondered, like, why we don't live in a thriving world, and it's because we have frigged up systems. And so just follow the money, follow the influence, and I think that this is the Great Awakening, I hope anyway. And so I will commit to doing my best to find the truth, to speaking the truth, to my own truth anyway, and sharing what I find with just, hey, this is how I'm piecing it together. How do you piece it together? Do you have better evidence to remain respectful, the best that I can? But honestly, I'm getting so angry, and you guys, I don't know if you guys know this. You listen to the podcast. It's funny, like, I'm really about truth and kindness. You know what I mean? And so when I see people get oppressed, that's when, like, my rage animal caveman body comes in. Like, I really just, like, want to just go shut it down, right? And I really try not to. And so, I really feel that, right? I really don't like manipulation. I really don't like deceit. I really don't like black magic. I really don't like frickin' people manipulating other people. I really don't like people bullying each other with this logical fallacy stuff. And this friggin' comedian the other day just talking smack to me, and like, they never know anything. He doesn't know how the PCR test works. He doesn't know the average mean of death. He knows none of these things, but he just says, oh, I'll tell you, an idiot for not wearing a mask. He hasn't read any of the mask studies. Nobody has that does that. They don't actually do the research. They just shame and guilt you. And I was like, if I saw you in the real world, you wouldn't say shit to me. And if you did, man, I just want to smack you in the mouth. And I don't know if I would. I probably not. But like, should I? I don't know. That's what I think about. Because like, who goes around doing that? You know what I mean? Shut the hell up. You don't know me. You know? Don't tell other people what to do. Like, just don't harm other people, right? But in his mind, he thinks he's super virtuous, and you are harming people, but hasn't looked into it and doesn't realize he's being manipulated. Just like in Rwanda, they were using manipulation through the airwaves, calling the other side basically cannibals, dehumanizing them. So they went over there machetes and mass murdered men, women, and children because they were manipulated, right? So if you're coming over to my tribe and you have a machete, man, I'm going to take you out. But now you're becoming dangerous. And guess what? These manipulated people are very dangerous. We know that because the cities have been burning because they've caused a lot of harm under a guise, and this is they're getting manipulated to cause an action, right? So do we need to work on social injustice? Do we need to work on starvation? Do we need to work on human trafficking? Do we need to work on more fair systems? Yeah. But if somebody is preaching to you this system and then you cause harm and maybe you don't have the full story, maybe you're the one causing the harm. Always the one protecting their freedoms and their liberties. They have that, congruence and grounding of justice and God's spirit, nature, and the universe. And I love that one quote where you say, somebody put out, he's like, you have 70 million, maybe even more, pissed off Republicans, and not one city is burned. And when I see Republican, I see it as people who prefer freedom over limited government, right? Maybe the Democrats, they prefer more government and more acquiescence. And you can have that belief, that's totally fine. But it's also a slippery slope when you enforce and you must, you take away freedom of speech, and that's what's happening. You take away freedom of speech and limit communications, and that's what's happening. And those are the first tactics in war. And again, since I've studied war and psychological operations, I've been very confident we've been in war since April, and I've been, kind of sharing here and there in different platforms, trying to keep it off YouTube because, it's obviously about personal development and building a better world. But, I got to know what the truth is. So went down and understood coronavirus, germ theory versus terrain theory, the Flexner report, the global health care mafia, the vaccine agenda, the global health agenda, all this kind of stuff I knew before, kind of filtering into where we are now. And all that we need to do is just opt out of that participation. Just connect to people who are telling you the truth. Look at how good is their track record. Do they have years of service, like Sayer G, Green Med Info, Dr. Christiane Northrup? Are they guilting and shaming you? Or are they giving you like a better argument? You know what I mean? Or do they just say, oh, you're a quack conspiracy theorist? So to say, hey, this is better evidence, that's a person you probably want to talk to because they're giving you better evidence. They're respecting you and your opinion. They're not guilting and shaming you. And all this is going to take for us is just awareness and to be the example and just to opt out and say no. You know what I mean? I'm going to go over here. And the more that we coalesce for freedom and real values, and you know what those are in your guts and in your soul, I think we are good people. But when people are afraid and they're manipulated, they can be dangerous. And so that's kind of what's going on right now. So I'm just going to keep ranting forever. Let me know if you have any questions. Please join the Academy and the membership. Censorship is insane right now. It has been incredibly challenging over here. I'm literally backing up. So I'm using this thing because I have to back up all my stuff. If you like the content, if you like the podcast, please do what you can to share. If you want to volunteer, join Telegram. But I definitely need the help, and I'm doing my best because, I was working on some really cool stuff. But also I think it's very important to educate and be on sharing the truth out of what's going on so people can make a better choice. Because if you take people's choices away, then you're basically a slave. And that's kind of, the Trojan horse of what the podcast has been. Is like, if you have to show up at a job that you don't like for 40 hours a week, you're basically a slave for 40 hours a week. And my whole point of the podcast, like really to its core, is how do I show people the truth about themselves, right? So they can discover it themselves, who they truly are, their own connection with themselves and spirit, their own guidance system, to then create something meaningful to them and live in a day-to-day experience of doing and living and being the fulfilling thing and not being a slave to anything outside of you. And that's really what my course and the podcast and everything that I do is about. My coaching, all of that is, and helped a lot of people do that. But it takes courage and it takes effort and it takes dedication, it takes commitment. And when you do that, you serve others. And so many people that have amazing track records of serving others have been deleted, have been censored. And that's how we know something funky is going on. And we really need your support now to be strong and clear and kind and open and humble. And that's it. And so if we find better evidence, move toward the better evidence, because information evolves. You can believe one thing, and then all of a sudden you get a new piece of information and just shatters it. It happens all the time. If you've ever had a very profound experience in meditation, you know that. You're like, I believed all this, and it definitely is, none of that is true. You're like, shoot. And it happens all the time, and I expect it to happen again because I'm open to new and better evidence, but also tuning it in to my body and really feeling through, and not just believing, entertaining a thought and seeing, all right, can you then prove this? Can you then prove this? Like if you say, hey Matt, you can actually fly, I'd be like, really? How do I do that? And, right? And I just gotta listen and listen and listen. And I really, really have to have that faith before I jump off my roof or something. You're gonna have to explain it to me, maybe demonstrate and things like that. And so holy crap, I don't know, man. I could go on forever, but my commitment to you guys is I will do my best. I honestly don't know that much, but I do know some things, and I will try to help. And we got this, and I think the good guys are winning. And I hope that stuff about all this stuff coming to light, and the courts and all the bad guys going to jail that I learned about years ago, and then specifically human trafficking, all the evil frigs around there. I hope they go to jail. That would be awesome. And I hope that no matter all this stuff that happens, even if the globalists do get in, we just need to participate and work together. And if we do that, we'll be all right. But we also, I think, need to stand up to tyranny. Makes sense to me. That's kind of the thing that I wrestle with, is like that quote that says, evil exists when good men do nothing. And so, I think that we need to kind of stand up and say, hey, but you need to do the research to have a clear mind to present the argument. So I don't know. All the best to you. Thank you for listening. Please, if you're like this, definitely get into the academy. Follow on Telegram, t.me/Matt Belair. I'm back on Instagram after deleted me, Matt.Belair. I don't know if I'll get my account back. I have a personal Facebook page, but I'm going to be moving off those stupid globalist tech sites because they're trying to take over the damn world and being butts. And so I'm going to move and give my energy to new platforms, but use these in a transitionary phase for as long as I need to, and then opt out. So please follow me over there. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.